Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1 minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marta White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time for some 28 years now. I come to you, we as a team, the Car Clinic Network team, come to you from the center of the automotive universe, which is a really nice studio. It's all digital with an elevated floor, weighs about 10,000 pounds, the floor does, and it isolates us from road noise because we're located inside a 15,000 square foot automotive service shop that is on a major thoroughfare. So we get trucks and cars and ambulances and emergency vehicles go by that are very noisy from time to time, but you never hear it inside here. It's kind of a place to be. It's a place to be for me every Saturday for you, and Hannah will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you as part this morning by O'Reilly Auto Parts. If you need a last-minute gift, think about it now. O'Reilly Auto Parts has you covered. They have several options for gifts that are under $20, like a digital tire gauge, a 20-in-1 multi-tool, storage containers, or even a universal backup camera. That's so valuable to have. Or you can get professional quality power torque tool sets there at just $19.95. And who doesn't like gift cards? So you can buy gift cards online and pick them up. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
2013 Honda Accord came in the shop running rough, stalling, and a check engine light. The vehicle had originally been repaired by another shop. After a thorough diagnosis, we found the vehicle was generating a bad signal from the crankshaft position sensor. This seemed odd as it had just recently been replaced, but the scope doesn't lie. A bad waveform signal needs to be fixed. Our solution? A new crankshaft position sensor from Motorrad. A longtime leader for vehicle thermostats and caps, Motorrad now offers engine management products that are engineered to meet and or exceed OEM specifications. They're designed to perform under severe operating conditions and are resistant to extreme heat. We made the change, and that fixed the car. Motorrad engine management products are manufactured in Tier 1 OEM facilities with top quality qualifications. They undergo comprehensive 100% in-line and end-of-line testing to ensure uncompromising quality. Learn more about Motorrad engine management products and other Motorrad solutions at motorrad.com. In the Car Clinic service bay this week, a 2013 Ford Escape. The customer was having a hard time cranking the vehicle and had to jump-start the car several times in the weeks prior. They assumed it was a failing battery, but it turned out to be something else. After a close inspection, we found the alternator was supplying very low voltage to the system, which can never be fully charged. We charged the battery, tested it, and confirmed it was still good. We then replaced the alternator and performed a starting system test after verifying proper voltage from the alternator. The starter motor showed an abnormally high current draw, likely damaged from all the cranking of the vehicle with low voltage. Our solution? A new Motorcraft starter and alternator, so we could be sure to fix it right. Both parts were readily available at FordParts.com. Motorcraft parts offer OE-approved specifications and performance for all your Ford and Lincoln repairs. Motorcraft, right part, priced right, and you can learn more about Motorcraft starters, alternators, and other high-quality vehicle-specific parts at Motorcraft.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started. I have a special gift. It's that time of year, you know, from O'Reilly Auto Parts and our partners. They're really a nice group of individuals. I say a group, of course, they have thousands of stores nationwide, but I depend on our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional, which just happens to be about a football field, maybe a couple of football fields from our service shop on Davis Highway right here in Pensacola, Florida. But anyway, it's great that we are near an O'Reilly Auto Parts because it makes delivery of our parts almost immediate. And they do a great job. So to that end, today I'm going to give away at the end of the broadcast, which will be about 55 minutes after the hour. It'll be the next hour. The broadcast is 2 hours long from 10 till noon. So about 11:55 Eastern Time, I'll give away a $25 gift card to someone that calls in. So if you've got a question or you want me to put your name in the hat, of course you have to participate. You have to have a question, and just want you to know that there are no dumb questions. And you can ask a question like, you know, is a new car better than an old one? Well, that's you sound like a dumb question, but when is it time to replace your old car? Now that's an excellent question. And the answer would be, of course, it depends. But anyway, for all of you folks out there, a $25 gift card from our partner at O'Reilly Auto Parts. And by the way, they've got a lot of car care products there. And in fact, that's where I go and I browse. They've got one complete aisle of car care surface products. And Jonathan, you love this because they have every known brand of car care. I mean, you know, from Meguiar's to new what is that? I forget the name of it now. Gold Eagle. I mean, you name it. It's just a whole shelves are. In fact, the shelves are just overladen with just chemical after chemical after chemical, and I always want to know what's in those chemicals. But I will tell you this week I had the opportunity to repair the sticky button. Now, for all of you owners of cars out there that have sticky buttons, what's a sticky button? Power window switch, cruise control switch, radio 4-gain switch, which means you can rock it up, down, which is volume up, down, or left and right. It's a station, or just push the whole button in to change from a satellite radio to normal radio to a DVD player or to whatever you have hooked up to the car. Very aggravating. Mercedes, in particular, had a center stack, an oval-shaped dash. Part of the dash, actually, but it's plastic. And so what the manufacturers do, and what they did, which was a mistake, is they coated the plastic. They made a little black plastic knob about the size of your thumb or larger. Like on mine, I've got a button that I can kill the start-stop, which I don't like, so I had to push that button every time I get in the car. Well, a button is maybe a half-inch wide and an inch long. Then next to it is the emergency flasher unit and the door unlock. Every single button in that car, due to the humidity and the heat here in Florida, and whatever chemical that Jaguar used on those buttons, wasn't compatible. So with age, and my car was never for any length of time parked out in the sun. It's always a garage car, and the bottom line, all those buttons are sticky, and that's typical of Audi, BMW, and Mercedes, and I'm not sure of any American cars. As long as you have a control button that is painted or colored with like look-alike chrome, or that satin finish that is an aluminized finish, then those buttons are plastic and they wear really well. They can scratch, but they wear really well. But on this particular car, they wanted to, they being the manufacturer, they wanted the buttons to have a tactile, nice touch to them, and it reminds me of a couple of iPhone cases that I bought. I had one that I remember that was a red one, in fact, for my old i6 Plus, and it had a velvety touch to it, sort of like Teflon. It was, the difference though, Teflon lasts and holds up, and these buttons did not. And so for about a year and a half, I put up with this, and finally it got to the point to where I couldn't drive the car, and I began looking for another car. So I said, well, wait a minute, let me call Jag. So I called Jaguar, JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, and got a nice person there that said, yeah, we've had an issue. Of course, I knew that we had an issue from our technical service bulletin because it gave a list of all the components. So I then reached out to the dealer as I was directed for them to replace the buttons according to the technical service bulletin. Now, this is not a recall. The technical service bulletin, and I got a price, $5,940. $6,000. Well, that didn't work for me. And the car has 65,000 miles. It's a 2013 model automobile. It doesn't have, of course, the value that it had one time because it's a used car now. It's a beautiful car. I paid a lot of money for it. Had it specially made, actually, with the color and what have you. So I searched for every chemical that I could think of and that I could find, and also used tried a few things online. And so ultimately the shift knob that also had with the shift knob where you could defeat the ABS or traction control if you wanted to drive aggressively. You could also push another button that was for snow, that would allow the transmission to start off in second gear so you could have better traction in snow. And then there was another one that was a speed limiter where you could set your cruise control at 75, and if you had the speed limiter engaged, car wouldn't go but 75. And even though you could, how sometimes you'll set a cruise control for 75 or 80 folks, and next thing you know, you're running 90 miles an hour. What is this? Well, with this speed limit, and that's kind of a UK thing, but it was there. And then there was one other button that was for aggressive driving and for the body control module or the chassis control module to make the shocks stiffer. All of those buttons are sticky. And ultimately, I tried a chemical that was too strong, and not only did it remove the stickiness, but it also damaged the plastic on the paint. So I had to replace the gear shifter assembly. And you can buy them, on eBay, for like $150, because the new one was $800, because it's the whole shifter assembly. And on those cars, when you push the button to start the engine, the gear shifter, that's a round knob, maybe 2.5 inches in diameter, rises up out of the console. It's really, really cool. The problem was that the buttons that I needed on that shifter control only came with a new shifter control assembly. So that was an expensive process. Ultimately, in Germany, last week, it's been a week now, maybe a week and a half, I found through another Bosch service center, we're Bosch service center, what they use in Germany, and I tried that, and lo and behold, it cleaned off all of the excess gum and goo and glue and whatever, and left the plastic as it was brand new. And even the little white icons, for the ABS or the whatever, all those icons are still as new. So it just replaced it. So now I don't have the tactile, they're black plastic, but they feel great. And so I was able to this week spend quite a few hours and just finished it actually in my garage last night. I finished the last 2 doors. That was a right rear passenger door that had a sticky button for the power window, and then the right front passenger door that had the power window buttons, plus it had the seat, the memory and the 1, 2, 3 seat buttons that were sticky, and got all those fixed, and used a brush and used patience, and took the console apart this week, which was a major accomplishment for me. And I'm glad to say that I spent about $1,000, and now my car is as new again. So that's really amazing. 888 Car Clinic, $25 gift card. You call, put your name in the hat. Hannah will take your call. Please give her your correct address or telephone number when you call, so that we can reach back to you. And if you win a $25 gift card, it's a great freebie. 888 Car Clinic is the number for you to call. 888-227-2546. So get ready. When I come back, I'll take your car questions at 888-227-2546. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts, and I'll share that with you when I come back. Your calls and more conversation about automobiles, and also the Massachusetts Right to Repair Act. Don't go away. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, or high-energy solvent technology. Using a combination of stronger solvents, HEST technology helps maximize one-tank cleanup of intake valves, fuel injectors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. Paul S. had a hot start problem on an 86 Mercure. The injectors were leaking fuel, which flooded the motor. Instead of replacing parts, Paul tried Berryman B12 Chem Tool. After just 2 cans, the car performed better, mileage improved, and the hot start problem went away. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com.
Did you know that birthday parties help build confidence in kids?
Yeah. Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Oh, totally. Did you know that friendly kids have more friends?
Everybody knows that.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week, a 2009 RX 350 Lexus came in with 85,000 miles and a loud noise in the front suspension. Now, a lot of noise-related repairs can be difficult to pinpoint, but this one was easy. Left front strut locked in the upright position, causing a banging noise even over the slightest bump. Solution? Replace all struts. We called our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional and ordered 4 new strut assemblies, and also made the decision to buy Master Pro brand, which has performed really well for our previous repairs. We also performed our pre-repair brake fluid procedure while we had the wheels off to save our customer possible caliper issues later on. A 4-wheel alignment and balancing all tires made this 10-year-old Lexus drive as new. Our service team was happy, our customer was happier, and we know we made another great choice by collaborating with our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional. That's why we make O'Reilly Auto Parts our first call. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. If you need a last-minute gift, folks, O'Reilly Auto Parts has you covered. They have several options for gifts under $20, like a digital tire gauge, a 20-in-1 multi-tool, storage containers, or even a universal backup camera. Now, therein lies a safety item that you really might consider, or you can get a professional quality powered torque tool set starting at just $19.95. And who doesn't like gift cards? You can buy a gift online and pick them up in the store. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Proud to be our partners, and today, courtesy of O'Reilly Auto Parts, I'm going to be giving away a $25 gift card. Your calls at 888-CAR Clinic. Let's take the phones. We go to Gerald in Florida. Gerald, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Hello, Bobby. Really enjoy your show. I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I have a 2015 Lincoln MKC. It's the SUV size car.
Yes.
It has the 2.0 EcoBoost.
Right.
And it started about 6 months ago. After refueling, I get a rough runner when I start the engine, and the rough runner lasts for about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, and then it clears, and off I go, and there's no further problem until my next refueling episode.
And when you refuel, Gerald, tell me, what method do you use? The 2-click method or 1-click? How do you top off the fuel?
Well, I've done it both ways, Bobby. In fact, I've actually tested refueling by only putting in like a gallon,
right,
manually, and
right.
I get the same problem. So if normally when I refuel it, I go ahead and just put the little click on the dispenser,
right.
And once it hits that I leave it.
That's
I pull it out.
So that's a 1-click. Okay, the which is fine. The proper procedure is 2 clicks. You know, let it pop off that, and then with your hand open the nozzle again. And I usually go about half throttle on the nozzle for my second click, and I use mine as a. And I guess how many gallons it takes based on miles to empty. And I do that because it's fun for me, but I also do it because I know from the gas mileage if there's anything wrong with my vehicle long before it gets to a point of of a failure, because if your gas mileage is more than 1.5 miles off, like 1%, 2%, then you know there's some issue. Now, having said that, the only thing that could cause something like that, and I hesitate to use the word only thing, it would be the evaporative emission solenoid. And so there's in all cars, and your Lincoln as well, there's a carbon canister that contains the fumes that are always, on the surface of gasoline. And so your gas tank can only be filled to about 95% full, because there's a void on the top of the tank where all the fumes are. Now, there's a lot more fumes if you have a half a tank than there would be if you had a full tank. And that's why when you store a car, just FYI, when you want to store an automobile for a length of time, you would add something like Howes, Howes. Howes makes a fuel stabilizer. It's a great company, and you would add the fuel stabilizer to 95% full, and that would give you probably a year of stabilized fuel, gasoline. Now, having said that, if you can create this issue just by adding 1 or 2 gallons to a half a tank of fuel, that really makes little to no sense, and I'll tell you why. Because you're not getting enough liquid up into the top of the tank that would interfere with this canister. So I believe that you got to. Does the check engine light ever come on? Has it ever come on?
Yes, I did get a check engine light, and the report was running rich on a cylinder. They didn't really say which one, I don't think.
Well, let me ask this question: Can you definitely say? And I think it's really smart that you tried, Gerald, to determine, by adding 2 gallons or 5 gallons or full. So let me say, if you drive along, the car's running fine, no problem, start, stop, it idles and cranks and does everything just like it's supposed to, and then you stop with a half a tank of fuel and you added 2 gallons or 5 gallons, would it cause this problem?
Yes.
It would.
I've tested virtually every possible way I can to apply the fuel. Bobby, I've heard one thing. I did a little internet research, and I got some indication about an air purge valve. Have you ever?
Well, yeah,
that's possible.
That's the solenoid I was speaking of, and there's a purge valve. In other words, when you fill a tank and then you cap it off, that tank does not vent to atmosphere. That tank actually doesn't vent at all. In fact, there's so that it's tested not to vent. There's a device that puts a little bit of pressure, albeit imperceivable, but maybe a half pound of pressure or whatever, depending on the make and model of car, of pressure in the tank, so that if the tank will hold, just like a balloon, if you blow a little bit of air in the balloon, you don't blow it up, but there's still more air in the balloon than you had otherwise. Well, that's the way vehicles, and then some vehicles use a vacuum system to test the integrity of the air bleed, the venting system from the fumes inside the gas tank to the engine, and then once the engine is running and you drive off at different stages of operation, the purge valve will open and you will burn those fumes. So anytime that you're bringing fumes from the gas tank and inducing the fumes into the engine, you can save the gasoline that you're drawing from the tank, because the fumes are what burn anyway. So it's a double whammy. Number one, it's definitely emissions to keep the raw fuel vapors from the atmosphere. That every car years ago, you sit in a driveway. In fact, ironically, Gerald, in the 60s, you could leave a car parked in a driveway all day long, or you could take today's car and drive from, let's say, from D.C. to Manhattan and back, a round trip from D.C. to the city and back, and the round trip from D.C. to the city and back would pollute less than the 65 model automobile that is parked in your driveway with the engine shut off. more pollution from that. Why? Because there was a steel pipe that just vented the raw fumes out from the top of the tank to the atmosphere. Now, having said that, you have an emissions problem. I suspect it's a purge valve. That purge valve can be tested by a professional with a professional scope, not a code reader like you get at a parts store, but a professional scope, and that scope can activate that purge valve or not, and determine if it's working. So it's either the purge valve or it's a carbon canister assembly, and because the canister assembly no longer is a simple plastic container that holds carbonized charcoal canister, it actually is a motorized assembly. And I will tell you, I don't know where they mount that on your car, but I can tell you the Thunderbird, when they came out in, what was it, 03 with the Thunderbird, the retro-looking Thunderbird. Yeah. Gerald, you won't believe this. They mounted that purge canister above the differential, and you have to remove the differential to gain access to. Oh, it's the stupidest thing you've ever seen in your life. I mean, we've got this lovely lady that owns this Thunderbird, and she's just. We do all the service on this Thunderbird. I walked up one day, and Johnny Barr is our master technician. And I talk of him all the time. He had the differential out. I said, "Oh, what's wrong with Miss Kate's car?" He said, the differential already, it only has, 100,000 miles or whatever. He said, no, the differential's fine. I said, well, why have you got it on the floor? He said, you see that box right there? I said, yeah. He said, that's a carbon canister. Had to get it out because they put it on the body before they assembled the car at the factory. Anyway, so that's enough information, but that's what you're going to find. And in any service shop that can perform tests on vehicles with a professional scan tool can activate those solenoids and check the structural integrity of those solenoids, because you got to get that fixed, because you're inducing raw fuel into your engine on fill up, and that's a no-no.
Yeah, it's interesting because one other thing I forgot to tell you, I did test refueling it with the engine running one time, and as soon as I put the fuel in the tank, the engine quit running.
Wow. Well, it's possible, just possible, that tube that is connected to the upper side of the tank, no, because when you put the nozzle in, you go down through the little orifice there, the little restrictor. Just on the other side of that restrictor, on top of the tank, is another little tube that's attached to the filler neck. And that tube goes to the carbon canister. I would take it to a service shop and tell them to explicitly check the carbon canister, because they could just pull a hose off, even if it was hard to get to. You wouldn't want to you wouldn't want to condemn it or replace it if it was hard to get to, but you can pull a hose off and see if there's raw fuel there. And if there is, then hey, that's your culprit. Hey, thanks for your call, and I think you're on the right track. I know you are. Okay, very good. See you. Thanks, Daryl. That's a 2015. That's unbelievable. So, Kyle Suba, you may have or may not have ever heard of this lady, but she's in charge of Chevrolet's East Coast communications with General Motors, and a lovely lady. I've invited her to join us this next segment, and she is in the queue right now. So Miss Kyle, you stay right there. We appreciate your time, spending time with us today. As you may or may not know, today in the Arlington National Cemetery, the laying of the wreaths across America actually started this morning at 7:30 my time, 8:30 Eastern time. So this is a perfect time to get a report from Kyle Suba with Chevrolet East Coast Communications, because every year GM participates in this trek, and you'll hear more about it when I put her on the air. So Miss Kyle, you stay right there, folks. You stay right there. This is really, really important for this time of year. Don't go away. I'm Bobby Likis. I'll be back.
A 2015 Ford Escape recently came into the shop, 120,000 miles and going strong, but it was starting to hesitate, and the customer also complained of declining fuel economy. This 2-liter turbocharged engine is GDI, or gas direct injection, and special maintenance is needed in certain areas, particularly the fuel system. We suspected carbon buildup, and sure enough, using a borescope through the spark plug hole, there was definite evidence of carbon buildup. GDI engines are different in the way they inject fuel, and it can create some issues with repair and maintenance. That's why it's important to use products rated for GDI, like Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit. Each step of the process is designed with GDI engines in mind. We use the kit, and after 2 weeks on the road, the car is performing noticeably better, and MPG has improved a bit. Learn more about Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kits and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Terrific program today, a special program today. If you have a particular car question or a question about your family's transportation at all, just give us a call at 888 Car Clinic. I'm really pleased today to have Kyle Suba on the Car Clinic hotline with us. Kyle is the Chevrolet East Coast Communications Director, and she's calling in from the Arlington National Cemetery, and this is an event that happens annually, the final destination of the Wreaths Across America Convoy. Kyle, a big welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Thank you so much for having me, Bobby. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Well, as we are to share the information and what's going on this very morning, with that, Kyle, share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers all about Wreaths Across America and how Chevrolet has teamed up with this important organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So Chevrolet is really honored to support Wreaths Across America for what is now the 5th year in a row in 2019. Wreaths Across America is an amazing not-for-profit organization with the mission of supporting families who have lost loved ones serving our country. They do that in a number of different ways, but the way that we're supporting today is with a number of different wreath-laying ceremonies which Wreaths Across America coordinates in all 50 states and beyond. In 2019 alone, we'll coordinate events at 1,600 veteran ceremonies worldwide. So truly an amazing organization. We're really honored to be a small part of it.
Absolutely. I understand that Chevrolet is providing a number of special vehicles to the Wreath Convoy from Maine to Arlington. Which vehicles will take part, and how will the Chevy vehicles be used?
Absolutely. So Chevrolet will be providing 11 vehicles, including Tahoes, Suburbans, and one military tribute Camaro. Obviously, Tahoes and Suburbans being used for their dependability, durability, reliability, in a number of different situations, both with the armed forces and in personal day-to-day use. And then a military tribute Camaro, which is decked out with the Wreaths Across America logo and a number of different imagery that it pays homage to the contributions of our veterans and of our armed services. So all of these vehicles will be traveling along with Gold Star families, as well as thousands and thousands of wreaths, which have been making their way down from Maine, the home of Wreaths Across America, to Virginia, where Arlington National Cemetery is happening. Chevrolet alone is providing 4,000 wreaths to help contribute to local wreath laying ceremonies, as well as the National Wreaths Across America Day, which takes place at Arlington National Cemetery today, Saturday, December 14th.
Folks, if you just tuned in to Car Clinic, on the hotline with us is Kyle Suba, Chevrolet East Coast Communications, and we're talking about Wreaths Across America. So, Kyle, why is the Wreaths Across America mission important to Chevrolet?
Absolutely. So Wreaths Across America's mission is really to remember our fallen heroes, to honor those who serve, and to teach our children about the sacrifices made by veterans. And the organizer of Wreaths Across America actually started the group because he went to Arlington National Cemetery and was so moved and taken by the idea that the America that we live in today, the lives that we all lead, due in no small part to the service and sacrifices made to our armed forces. That's a mission that we at Chevrolet feel really strongly about as well, personally and professionally. And we got started because a member of our dealer network who was a veteran brought this forward as a group he personally felt passionate about, and we were thrilled to support. It's just such a wonderful way to bring communities together, both locally and nationally.
So folks, today, as we speak, the Wreath Convoy and Chevrolet are arriving in Virginia. So, Kyle, share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers and paint us a picture of the activities going on today at the Arlington National Cemetery that Chevrolet is supporting so heavily.
Absolutely. So early this morning, the escort arrived at Arlington National Cemetery via Memorial Drive. The cemetery gates will be open to the public beginning at 8 a.m. So for any of your listeners who are in the Arlington area, please feel free to join and take part in the ceremony. It's sure to be an amazing, breathtaking experience. At 8:30, there'll be an opening ceremony at McClellan Arch where members of Wreaths Across America, as well as military
Motors is supporting, and specifically the Chevrolet General Motors division, Chevrolet division of GM. Let's go to George, who is waiting patiently. 888, folks, the number's 888 Car Clinic. You can you should call in earlier. We've got a bank full of phones, but I'm going to do my best to get to everyone that's called in. So George, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call, Bob.
You're welcome, sir.
And listen, you was talking about sticky buttons. I got some sticky buttons, but you didn't say what you were using for it, the name of it or anything.
Well, I didn't.
No.
I didn't because I'm not sure that it's compatible with like some PVC. The chemical that I use is not compatible with PVC plastic, and so I experimented. And see, I cost myself $1,000 because.
Oh wow! I ain't gonna spend $1,000.
Well, the dealer wanted $6,000 to replace all the buttons, because the button is the part that you touch. That's just that's just like the push button of a starter. But all the mechanisms that button is not. The button doesn't pop off and put a new button on cars. That button is the switch. So every switch, every window switch, every door switch, every cruise control, up, down, volume, HVAC, I mean, you name it, gear shift, all those buttons were sticky. And so what I ultimately, I tried for a year, I worked on this project because I couldn't stand it. In fact, just for your information, George, I actually, for the last 3 weeks, have been looking at another car because I couldn't stand to drive my car. And and just this morning, just last night in my garage, that I completely stripped the gummy off of 2 other buttons. The problem that I had was in getting to the root solution, I ruined a couple of buttons. So I'm not sure, you know, what kind of car do you drive?
It's a 2003 Dodge Caravan.
Yeah. Well, here's what you can try. You could try Goo Gone. That will not damage any button. You just put it on a microfiber and you blot it on the sticker, you know, on the sticky part, and you kind of massage it with your finger. You know, it's better to do less than more, and then and see if that works. So that won't. I know that will not hurt. You cannot use anything like benzene or toluene or carburetor cleaner or brake cleaner. You can't use anything automotive, and that's what drove me crazy because that's all I knew, you know. But
I was going to use this like electronic spray, you know, for electronics.
Yes, sir. Well, you certainly try that. You know, just go through a trial and error, and see, and then, you know, but don't use anything that's a solvent based, because the solvent destroys the buttons. Which buttons are sticky on your car? Which buttons?
Okay, thank you very much, Robert.
You're welcome very much, George. Thank you. And you know, and I'm not trying to be evasive, but I've ruined. I cost myself that shifter assembly, and I don't know why I chose that particular. It seemed like to me I could have chosen any other button, but the ones that were only made in that complete shifter assembly. But hey, it is what it is. But I'm just glad that I spent about $1,000 versus $6,000, really, and now I've got a new car. I'm telling you, folks, it's beautiful. Joel in New York, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for calling.
Yes. Good morning, and how are you?
Terrific. Yourself, sir?
Very well. It's quite a feat or an accomplishment that Chevy is doing.
I think so. I think so. 12 vehicles that they supplied for that convoy, and there are hundreds of thousands of wreaths that are laid across the graves, and I just think that I think that's just so important. And this is, I don't know, our 5th or 6th or 7th year that we promote. We work with Strauss Radio Broadcasting in New York. I believe they're based in New York. But Zach Seidenberg is our contact there, and he'll reach out to us and say, you know, I've got some information this week, and you know, obviously he's a PR firm for one of the PR firms for General Motors, and so whenever, you know, I have an inside connection like the mid-engine Corvette, I knew all about that and had information long before it ever hit the internet even, but Of course, it was embargoed, so I couldn't say, but at least I knew a little more about it. And then we were able to interview the designer, engineer from a 2020 Corvette mid-engine Corvette through Zach. But anyway, it's been a relationship that we've enjoyed for 20 years with that company in New York. But what can I do for you?
Well, I got an issue with my transmission on my 1994 Chevy pickup, the 1500.
Right.
And when I'm coming, first the transmission went, and I had it rebuilt. And after they rebuilt it, I got it back. When I go to come to a stop, it doesn't want to shift down. And at first, the first couple of times, it actually stalled. Since then, it's at least I can get it. It doesn't stall when I come to the stop. But also, if I'm going around an intersection, a corner, I slow down.
Right.
I go to accelerate. It hasn't kicked down in lower gear, and I'm taking off in a higher gear. Of course, the engine's knocking at that point.
Yeah, right. Well, that sounds like a reprogramming issue, but you could also have. So let me ask you a question. Did you have this? Was it rebuilt or replaced?
Rebuilt.
Have you been back to the rebuilder and complained of this situation?
Well, I did, and he said that. I mean, kind of didn't go anywhere with it. That's why I'm calling to see if I can. I mean, I don't use it a lot, so I can make it work the way it is. But it just it sure be nice to have it shifting like it was before the engine went, or before the transmission went.
Then I suggest that's what you paid for, and I suggest you go back to that individual and have him to take another look at it. You could have a solenoid pack within the valve body, or you could have it could be so simple as reprogramming the rebuilt transmission. And if he can rebuild the transmission, he should have the reprogrammer, because that's all part of that job. You may want to get a second opinion, Joel, but definitely go back and ask him to reprogram the transmission.
Okay.
Because the throttle control switch sends a signal to the transmission that lets it know the relevant position of your throttle, your gas pedal, and the road speed, and all those sorts of things. And also that low-speed spark knock, which is can be engine damaging. Just for you to know, that's one of the issues that the new GL6 engine oil is being changed to combat that, because that's I did a whole segment one show recently on the low speed knock, because all of today's cars will, if you come to a turn, and you slow, but you don't slow down enough to get it to drop down into the right gear, and you turn the corner and accelerate moderately, or even just half moderately, the engine is lugging because it's in the wrong gear. And then can you nail the throttle and force it into the first gear?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't have to.
And that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. I got you.
Get it to shift, and then it's fine.
Well, it's possible that you may have to have another shop to reprogram it, but I think it's that shop's responsibility to make that transmission work the way it worked before. It's not you. You know the car.
All right.
So it's just part of his, he just has to step up. And if he doesn't have, if he can't reprogram it, then he shouldn't be rebuilding transmissions, because that's hand in glove. Got it?
Can I ask you another thing? And I don't think it's related. The cluster on the dash is not working properly. Does the transmission have any readings off of the cluster? As far as the speedometer and RPM?
Yeah, it does. Yes, it reads by speed, the speed control and the speed sensor. And so the speed sensor definitely could be the cause of both situations. So definitely go back and have this conversation with him. And folks, with that, Joel, good luck. Let me know next week. That's all the time I have for this hour, but another hour coming up. Don't touch that dial, and folks, stay with me.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, you never want to get surprised by a dead battery. A vehicle's original battery generally lasts about 3 to 5 years, but many fail long before then. Next time you're in for an oil service, have the technician test your battery. Better now than too late. Today's vehicles have start-stop systems, navigation, radio amplifiers, electric fuel pumps, 25 or more onboard computer modules, and serious electronic controls that depend on a strong, fully charged battery. Make sure the car you're driving has a healthy battery. Make yourself a note. Go to autobatteries.com and see for yourself how a battery can keep you safely driving down the road or put you on the side, just like that. At autobatteries.com, you'll see battery technology, battery testing, how to choose the battery, how to jumpstart your battery, and more about AGM batteries, my choice. I'm not here to make you a battery expert, rather to help you better understand why a reliable battery is essential for your road trips. Go to autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the cultivated section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the cultivated section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, just an extension of the first hour. Every Saturday from 10 till noon, we come to you from the center of the automotive universe. We have callers left over from the first hour, and I appreciate your patience. I see Douglas from New York and Bill from South Carolina and Vince from Arkansas. Folks, be assured we will take your messages. And I do have the $25 gift card that I'll be giving away at the end of this hour, about 55 after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats, closure caps, and now engine management components. You can learn more about their products and their industry-leading application coverage where? Motorrad.com. That's Motorrad.com. Okay, so gas prices. Well, believe it or not, they're up again this year, or this week from this time last year, $2.56 nationwide. The highest 333 in California. But that's still in the ballpark, 253, 3 1/4, somewhere in there from East Coast to West Coast. Pretty well stays the same. I think it's interesting. Politics plays a big part in that, and price of crude, and also the fact that electrification of the fleet, the EVs, are growing, and we shall see continued growth. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature, in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element UltraStat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The UltraStat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The UltraStat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad UltraStat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have the money for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. If you've had a car with a coolant leak, you know how expensive it can be. It's not usually the newer, higher-dollar vehicles that have leaks. It's the older vehicles, say $900 to $2,000 range, the cars we depend on for daily transportation and other vital tasks. If you're experiencing a coolant leak and the repair cost exceeds the value of your car, you don't necessarily have to take your car off the road. Try using K-Seal. We've seen our share of these in our shop where, before K-Seal, once a diagnosis was made of a leaking intake gasket, radiator, heater core, or head gasket, the car was sent for recycling and the owner had to purchase another. Before giving it up, try K-Seal. It's a pour-in solution that just may allow you to keep your car longer without spending more on repairs than the car is worth. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere, like AutoZone, and get more information at kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you by K-Seal, a one-step pour-in solution designed to stop coolant leaks and help prevent future leaks. You can find K-Seal at fine part stores nationwide, like Napa Auto Parts. Don't just seal it. K-Seal your cooling system in the case of a leak with a head gasket or a water pump or intake manifolds if you have a Ford product. K-Seal. Go to kseal.com for more information. We'll take a call from Vince. Vince, thank you for holding in Arkansas. Good morning and welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Love all the information that you give out.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. What took you so long, and what can I do for you?
Well, I've got an older GMC Suburban. It's a 93.
Okay.
I use it as a work truck. It runs great. Here around 4 weeks ago, when it just started getting cold, the water pump went out.
Right.
So I took it in the shop. They replaced the water pump, replaced the thermostat. Since I've got it back, the heater does not get warm. It might get lukewarm. I've had one day where it's gotten warm, so it has one time. Took it back in. They thought it was a thermostat, replaced it, but still, I'm driving down the road right now, freezing my butt off.
Well, let me ask a question. The engine thermostat on the gauge, does it read the way it did before all this happened?
Yes. It's normally between about 1/3, 120 maybe. Not the same.
Well, you know, I can only assume that, and I don't like to assume, but I can only assume, Vince, that they used a 192 thermostat. Sometimes, and it depends on the shop and their experience. Years ago, we always opted for a colder thermostat. You know, 160s were, which is totally wrong for today's cars, 180, and then the 192, which is what most cars have today. And actually, the cooling fans that cool an engine really don't come on until their engine reaches 225. So I think before we condemn your heater core, which obviously there's some issues there, and it may be that in the process of replacing the water pump, some old sludge, happened to be disturbed and ended up creating a blockage with the heater core. That's kind of a stretch, for me. And you can flush all day long, but you'd be hard pressed to flush out what gets inside a heater core. I guess you've tried that, have you?
No, I haven't tried that, but that makes sense.
Well, it does.
It definitely makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And so, you drove the car, and you're the primary driver of the Suburban, so you know what it was like prior to the water pump. So if this happened, two things. I would ask, first thing, look at your receipt and see what part number is on the thermostat. We would put the part number so you could verify what it was. But also, just for grins, why don't you?
Okay, let me throw something else at you.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I've got it on vent right now. It doesn't seem like it has the airflow like it did before, blowing out the vent or out any vent. Even though when I put it on the defroster, it seems like it's a little bit lower, but the fan's still on high. That
well, that wouldn't. Even though you don't have the forcible air coming out, the stoppage of a heater core is internal. It has nothing to do with the external part of the heater core, which is like a radiator. It's just a mini radiator. Of course, you could have something so simple as I don't know that 93 has a cabin air filter, but that could cause problems. But it doesn't matter. Even if you had a slow blower that was just going out, the blower happened to go out at this time, or it's going bad, it still would not affect the temperature, because the less air you run across the heater core, the hotter the heater core. Just like when you're, and this was an old trick that a lot of people that would sell air conditioned jobs or repair an air conditioned job, you always show the owner, well, look how cold this is, and you put it on the lowest blowing speed. And you say, imagine how cold it'd be if I turned it up. Well, it wouldn't be colder, it would be hotter, because the more air you blow across the evaporator core, then the less efficient the core is, because it has more heat to pull out of the air. And the same thing's true for a heater core that puts heat in the air versus removing heat from the air. So again, I would go back and I would ask specifically what thermostat, and here's one other thing that you can do. If they have an infrared gun, which every shop should have, then let the engine idle. Even if it takes 20 minutes, you have to cover the radiator. Let it idle with the air conditioner on, which adds a heat load, and see what the radiator thermostat opens at, and you can use the infrared. And if you're not reaching 200 plus degrees in the thermostat area, which is the top of the engine for your engine, your Suburban, then you've got an engine that's not running operating temperature. One last question before I let you go. Have you noticed, or have you had time to notice, if gas mileage has dropped?
Gas mileage has been dropping over the last couple of years, yes.
Yeah. Well, a thermostat would cause that because the computer puts in air-fuel mixture depending on the temperature of the air and also the temperature of the engine. That's why cold engines, you could take the thermostat out of your Suburban, which you wouldn't do, but a lot of people, when the engine overheat, the first thing you do is take the thermostat out. Well, that's the worst thing in the world, because then the computer says, oh, I got a cold engine, and dumps more fuel in, and you can damage. In fact, Ford Motor Company, this is a fact, years ago, said that an engine that runs 125 degrees Fahrenheit wears 5 times more rapidly than that same engine at 195. So that's how important that 195 factor is, and that's where you need to be. Check that first, and then check your blower. So you got 2 different problems here. You got a temperature problem, and then you got an airflow problem, neither of which are connected with repairs unless you had a vent door. But if you had a vent door that wasn't working, and then you would get some heat out of both the air and that. You got it?
Well, okay, now here's something. For years, I'd say for the last 5 years, during the summertime, you don't, the flapper door, when I turn the truck on, the flap with the heaters on,
right,
the flapper door will go,
oh, okay.
The truck off, the flapper door does it. But during the summertime with the air conditioner, it doesn't do that.
Well, that's because the flapper door defaults to heat, and in the summertime, the flapper door says, oh, I got to go to cool, but there's a actuator motor that has a stripped gear. So you want to work on that too, because that. And just one last thing, and gosh, I keep, here's what everybody that's tuned in needs to know. Roughly starting in 1965, all HVAC systems in all cars were redesigned so that when that system failed, it failed towards the heat side. In other words, any system that has the ability to cool must have vacuum or its motorized doors on later model vehicles that bring it into the air conditioner mode, because when you turn the car off, it goes automatically to heat, and if the HVAC system fails, it fails to the heat side. And the reason that it does that is because you cannot drive a car in New York or Alaska in the cold weather without freezing to death, but you can drive a car anywhere in the world without burning up with an air conditioner. That's a luxury, although in Florida here you got to have it. But the bottom line is that's what they were made. And to that end, the water control valve on a lot of cars pre-65 used to use vacuum to open the valve. So whenever you lost the vacuum, which is part of losing the system, the heater didn't work. So they said, well, wait, we got to redesign this. So they changed the water valve now so that the valve is normally open to flow water through the heater core. And then you have to have vacuum for the system to shut off the water. And that means that, again, whenever the system fails, which means you have a vacuum hose that cracks or whatever, and in your case, you've got that tick, 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 which is an actuator motor that's trying to move that vent door, and in the summertime. But in the wintertime, the door, when you turn the car off, the door's going to go to the heat side anyway. Anyway, you've got a lot of information there, but I think you got a better idea of how the system works, and you can talk more intelligently with your service shop. So when I come back, we'll take another call. Bill and Douglas, you stay right there. And folks, your calls at 888-227-2546. In the service bay this week, an 05 Chevy Silverado. The truck was experiencing a front brake noise and a pull to the left when stopping. We performed a thorough inspection and found the front pads completely worn out on the driver's side. The passenger side looked to be okay, but we noticed a loose wheel bearing on that side. Why would the pads be worn on just one side? It was a seized driver's side brake caliper.
So we replaced the pads and rotors on the front along with the driver's side caliper. Also replaced the passenger side wheel bearing. Our parts choice for the repair, Omnicraft. With today's complex vehicles, not every part works or works well. Quality, fit, and function is a belief system in my shop. Approved and backed by Ford Motor Company for most non-Ford and non-Lincoln vehicles, Omnicraft quality brake parts will help ensure vehicle reliability and longevity. Learn more about Omnicraft brakes and other Omnicraft parts at omnicraftautoparts.com. Omnicraft Auto Parts, backed by Ford. Being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can strain your automobile. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Winter means shorter days and longer nights. It's a great time to make sure interior and exterior lights are working properly, and don't forget to make sure your headlights are properly aimed. This item is often overlooked. The best way to warm up your engine in the winter is to drive gently at the start. Make sure your ice scraper and snow brush are accessible, and replenish your emergency kit. Jumper cables, a flashlight, blankets, extra clothes, bottled water, non-perishable food, and a first aid kit with any medication that may be needed. It may seem like a lot, but better safe than sorry. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Remember, folks, a $25 gift card that I'll be giving away roughly in about 30 minutes here on the second hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So if you really don't know what to get someone, that car guy in your life, or your dad or your brother or whoever holds the keys, give them a $25 gift card and tell them Bobby Likis gave it to you, but actually it's going to come from our partners at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Okay, let's go to Douglas in New York, and then we're going to Bill in South Carolina, and then your calls. Get in the queue now, 888-227-2546. Douglas, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you so much for holding.
Thank you very much for having me. I called before, but this is about my 2013 Chevy Captiva.
Okay.
LTZ Sport.
Mm-hmm.
Got all the bells and whistles. Well, on the passenger side is the headlight. It's out. And I've heard two different stories. One is, well, my common sense just told me when a light bulb in your house goes out, you just replace it.
Well,
this is intermittent. It's
Yeah.
on for some days, then it's off for some days.
Right.
And the first person said, it's not just replacing a bulb. He said, you have to cut the plug. That'll be like $100. I'll do it for you, is what he said. And then a car store explained to me that it's like a plug whole kit that you get. And then the second person, Mechanic Garage here, said, no, it's just a bulb. Just take it off and replace the bulb. And I don't know. I wanted to ask you: have you ever heard of that? It's when you smack the crossover, when you slap it on the side, it comes on.
Yeah.
So
it's well, it could be the filament in the bulb, or it could be. It depends on the type of of bulbs. You know, the later model cars, I'm not sure your car has LEDs, but LEDs are just a series of bulbs, and which are brighter, and because they're so tiny, you can put multiple LEDs in a row, and you can design the car as aerodynamically sleek as you'd like without having to have that big old fog lamp or that big headlamp that we know of the classic cars. But so Douglas, what I would do, number one, in order to replace any bulb in any car that I know of in my 48 years, you do not have to cut a wire. That bulb is put in there at the factory, and you can untwist or twist lock the receptacle and pull that out and replace the bulb. There are some ballasts, and there are a lot of sophisticated headlamps with LEDs, but the lithium bulbs, not lithium, speaking of batteries there, but the halogen bulbs you can replace, and I like to use, and I've talked about these, Sylvania. I like those. They're the Ultra Star, which are really the best that I use. So if I had your vehicle, here's what I would do. The first thing I would do is I would go to an O'Reilly Auto Parts store, and I would talk to the counter person, and I would say, bring up your bulb chart for my 13 Chevrolet, and it's a Silver Star Ultra is the name of the bulb, Silver Star Ultra by Sylvania. Okay. They'll have those bulbs, and if you're going to replace one, you may as well replace both, because the Silver Star Ultras are 50% brighter. So if you're going to go to the trouble to reach back in there, and sometimes you have to take the headlamp assembly loose or out, but they're only half a dozen screws or 3 screws. I mean, really,
like 3.
Yeah, 3 to get the socket out, and so rather than to try to get your hand back there and not know what you're doing and perhaps unplug another wire that you shouldn't, the thing to do is to take the time and pull that bucket out, that headlamp assembly out, and you will see that you twist lock. And while it may be that some bulbs could come with wiring, and I'll give an example of maybe what you heard. Mercedes, on some of their headlamps, had issues with their wiring. Well, the wiring would burn up because the bulb got so hot it would destroy the female socket and the wires. But you could buy those pigtails versus having to buy the whole engine harness or the whole headlight harness. So the aftermarket has solutions that you don't need to be worried about. There are solutions. So two companies come to mind. One, of course, is the auto parts, O'Reilly Auto Parts, but Dorman. You might try to go to Dorman and look, or go to Sylvania. And I don't know the name of the Sylvania, but it's Sylvania Lighting, and then there's the automotive division, because they're a global company. So if you have to go to the Sylvania, then U.S., I just put in automotive headlight bulbs, Sylvania, and see what pops up. And then, well, thank you.
Well, someone did mention the pigtail.
Well,
someone
but you could buy the pigtail, so it's no big deal. And so
where's the pigtail located, though? I don't understand that.
Okay, you know when you plug in a lamp into your socket in your home,
right?
And then when you unplug it, you're supposed to grab the plug, not yank the wire, right? We were all taught that. Well, sometimes the plug comes off the end of the wire because somebody over a period of time has yanked the wire, not walked over and pulled the plug out. So you can buy the pigtail, and the pigtail would be a new plug and a little wire, short period of wire. So a pigtail.
Yeah, that's what the first one said.
Yeah. I mean, it's no big deal. It really is not a big deal. It sounds like it is. And one last thing. And this is to do with headlight. Don't touch the bulb, because the oil from your hand, would cause it to burn out quickly.
Okay.
And so you never touch bulbs when you're putting them in, and most bulbs come with a little sponge an adapter or like women use to put makeup on. A little piece of sponge,
Right.
and that's what that's for. People think it's so the bulb doesn't get broken in the package way, but it's not. It's not. It's what you use. You don't take it out and throw it away. I mean, it's not like one of those. What is it that you take something out and it comes to that desiccant. You know, it says, "Do not eat this."
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Okay. Hey, Douglas. Good luck. I'm glad you called me. So I think you can handle it.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome so
appreciate it.
much. Bye-bye now. Don't eat this. Bill in South Carolina. Hey, Bill, thank you so much for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah. I got a question about oil.
Okay.
I got a 2004 Yukon. I've never used anything but 5W30 Castrol conventional oil in it, changed every 3,000 miles. Well, all of a sudden, that does no longer exist. You can't find that oil no more. Big box stores, parts stores, they don't have it.
And that's 5 what?
5W30 conventional. All they have now is 5W30 synthetic blend.
Yeah.
Will it hurt my vehicle to switch?
No, absolutely not. That doesn't matter. Never too late to quit smoking. Let me tell you this. I mean, and I use that analogy, but the bottom line is conventional oils are X quality, and then you've got synthetic that are triple X quality. Well, what about in the middle? So in the middle, you want to kind of wean off of the conventional oils because so many of the cars on the road today demand a synthetic oil. Synthetic blend is a conventional oil with a synthetic additive for extra protection. So synthetic blends, in fact, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, I had this bright idea to make booster shot, but I didn't have the money to put it together. So about 15, and I'm not, you know what a booster shot is with your body, right? Well, I wanted to make a booster shot oil change. So about 12 or 13 years ago, when I created a special program called Pre-Repair, which stands for the prevention of repair, and there's a lot of philosophical reasons and dollars and cents why I created that. Under the Pre-Repair program at our service company is the booster shot. And booster shot is conventional oil with a pint of full synthetic additive along with, and we put that in the oil. And so it's a blend. And in fact, you remember Valvoline? They made DuraBlend years ago, which, was a conventional oil with a little bit of synthetic, and I called it a poor man's synthetic oil. So you don't have to worry. You just put that blended synthetic in that vehicle that's older, and it will not affect the engine.
All righty. Well, it's got 208,000 on it, and I was wondering, and it don't leak, don't use oil. So I was wondering, would that hurt it?
Nope, will not hurt it at all. You go right on. How often do you change the oil? 5,000?
Yeah, every 3,000.
Well, you can go, when you go with a synthetic blend, you can go up to 5,000. So if you drive 15,000 miles a year, you're saving a lot of money there, even though you're paying a little bit more for the oil. But it's okay to go 5,000 unless you have a dirty farm atmosphere and the environment with which the vehicle is driven. Under which the vehicle is driven.
Yeah, it's just an everyday driven cars. Well, I don't use it to work. Just back to town.
5,000 will do you just fine. Just use a quality oil filter. Wix makes a great filter. Napa Gold is a filter we use, but it's made by Wix. So it's really a Wix filter. And that Wix is a great company. I went to the Wix factory in North Carolina one time, and I watched them test a filter. And Bill, folks, you'll be excited about this, or maybe not. There have been claims where a filter stopped up and caused an engine to blow up. Well, let me tell you something. When a filter stops up, but long before the engine blows up, that filter blows up like a blowfish. It changes from a canister, a round canister, to a big ball, and poof! Finally, when you get 300, 400, 500 pounds of pressure, it blows up. But long before it blows up, it literally swells up and loses its shape. So there's not an oil filter manufacturer out there that hasn't tested the blow-off pressure of an oil filter, and the only way you test it is you create a artificial blockage and you put pressure, hydraulic pressure, till it blows up. And I just like a balloon, same thing. You blow a balloon up and you can only put so much air in it, it's going to blow, right? So whatever shape that balloon is, it's going to be round and full and firm, and bam, it's going to blow. Anyway, thanks for your call, and you'll be good on the synthetic blend oil going forward. And folks, I'll take your calls at 888-227-2546 when I come back. And we're going to go to Pennsylvania and talk with Chris about winter tires. That's a novel idea. Folks, recently a 99 Chevrolet Blazer came into the shop. The owner was having problems with hesitation upon acceleration. He'd already changed out several parts: spark plugs, wires, ignition coil, mass airflow sensor, fuel filter, and the air filter element. He even changed the thermostat and coolant temperature sensor. Still had the same problem after putting a lot of money in this car, and he was frustrated. We dug a little deeper, cleaned the throttle body, and checked for trouble codes. No codes. So we recommended Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Carbon deposits and dirty fuel injector nozzles are a common problem with drivability in late model engines. We also recommended a higher quality gasoline. The customer noticed improvement on the first day, and only a few days and a few hundred miles later, the problem was completely gone. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by the Ford Professional Service Network, a more rewarding way to buy Ford, Motorcraft, and Omnicraft parts for automotive service facilities like Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So just remember that. Motorcraft and Omnicraft parts from Ford Motor Company. Take a call from Chris in Pennsylvania. Chris, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I can hear your mic in there is a problem, is what I was talking about. Okay, let's go to Chris in Pennsylvania. Chris, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, thanks. Love the show. Listen every week. Thanks for taking my call.
Every year I buy my winter tire package from a well-known online merchant, and because I believe taking the tires on and off to change them for the winter ultimately ruins the bead. But regardless, the tire merchant suggested that I go down a wheel diameter size for winter tires from a 17-inch wheel to a 16-inch, and it just seems unusual. I wonder if that makes any sense to you.
Does not. To me, well, if you go down on a wheel size and you still retain the diameter, in fact, it makes no sense, and I'll tell you, here's why. All cars have, most cars, almost all these days, have traction control, and all cars have the ABS, which is the anti-lock brakes, right?
Right.
So the speedometer, number one, is calibrated by the size overall diameter of the tire.
Right.
So if you got a 28-inch diameter tire on a 10-inch wheel, you got a lot of rubber and not much steel. If you got a 20-inch diameter wheel and a 28-inch tire, you only got 4 inches of rubber. If you got a 29-inch wheel, you only got 1 inch of rubber. You see what I'm saying? So if you're going to maintain the overall height and circumference of the tire that the car was designed to run, and all of the electronics are designed to cover a certain amount of ground that is road speed versus engine speed versus diameter of the wheel versus a ring and pinion, which is the rear gear ratio, all those things, Chris, they're all calibrated. So why you would want to, there would be no sense to me to throw the car out of calibration to buy a winter set of tires, because you and I know that just because it's time for winter tires and you put them on doesn't mean you're going to drive in the snow and the slick all the time. Sometimes you have pretty days there in Pennsylvania and New York and where there's no ice. And I mean, it's just normal. So during those times, the car would say, the little wheels, because they're smaller, would go, they're running faster because they have shorter legs.
Right.
So I don't understand why they would do that and why they would recommend.
It wasn't a person I was talking to, although I should have questioned him at that time. But right across the board, when you tried to select online the tires for that particular vehicle,
right,
it just universally said go from a 17-inch wheel to a 16-inch. And I should have asked for an explanation. To me, it would, if you wanted to change the tire size, to me it would make more sense to go to a narrower tire that might bite into the snow that we get up here.
Well, now you're confusing two different items there. Number one, the wheel diameter has nothing to do with the wheel width. The width of the width of a wheel is normally 6 to 8 inches. On my car, I have 8.5 on the rear and 7.5 on the front because they're staggered, and they do that for suspension reasons. But in a lot of cars that are rear-wheel drive, you can't rotate the tires because they're staggered. You got different size tires in the front and rear, so that's what my car has. On cars where you have all same size, you can rotate, but regardless, whether you have 15s, you could have 15 by 7 inch wide. You could have 18 by 7 inch wide. You could have 19 by 7 inch wide. So the wheel diameter is the diameter of the wheel, the platter. It's like a plate. You got a plate, you got a saucer, and you got a bread dish. They're all different sizes. But if you put them, if you wanted to make a plate and a bread dish and a little saucer for a coffee cup, if you want to put them in a ring and you drew a 20-inch ring, you're going to have more area around the saucer because it's a smaller diameter. But if you want to make sure the ring was filled with rubber, the tire size outside diameter, then you'd have to put a larger tire. So it may be, it's possible, that what they're doing is they're making a fatter, taller, and changing the aspect ratio between the wall of the tire and the width of the tread. You see where I'm going?
Yes, sir.
So that's what you want to know, And I think before I would buy, if I were you, I'll tell you, there's a company that, and I'll give them a plug, Tire Rack.
That's where I buy my tires.
Well, yeah, because they're in that business. So what you could do with Tire Rack is you call a Tire Rack representative, and I don't know, sometimes you get put on what we call terminal hold, but I don't know that that's ever happened with Tire Rack. It happens with dealerships when we order parts. They say, hold please, parts, hold please. I mean, in one word, parts, hold please. It's all one word, and you may be there 5 minutes or you may be there 8 minutes. It's just, they're either understaffed or they're multitasking. But the bottom line is, I think now that you and I have had this conversation, and I'm glad you called, I think you should call Tire Rack and talk to a representative. Tell him I said give you time. I know not all those guys, but I deal with Tire Rack. So call and ask them if the overall diameter is the same. If it is, then it's okay to go to a 16-inch wheel from a 17, as long as the tire's fatter. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You got that? That's the main thing, because there's no reason, no rhyme nor reason that you should put a shorter tire, because number one, here's what a shorter tire will do. It will increase the gear ratio of the differential overall, and here's why. If you roll a marble, and you made a mark and you rolled a marble one revolution, I guess it would roll, what, 1.5 inches, depending on the size of the marble. If you rolled a bowling ball, it's going to roll a foot out if it's bigger, right?
Right.
So the smaller the tire, in essence, you're changing the gear ratio for the differential, because the gear ratio, if you got a 3-to-1, which means the drive shaft turns 3 times and the axle turns once, that one time for 3 times that the drive shaft, which is the engine in final drive, turns, covers X amount of ground. Well, if you put
it's higher numerically.
Yeah. So if you put a shorter tire, then the tire covers less ground, and it effectively reduces the gear ratio. And I say that that's wrong, and I'll tell you why. That's the wrong approach, because just like I mentioned earlier, my sticky buttons on my Jag, there's a winter button, and the winter button starts the car from a traffic light in second gear. It does the opposite of what a small tire. It would be like changing my tires to tractor tires, because it has to cover a lot of ground, and that effectively reduces the torque of the engine, but it also gives you added traction because it lets you soft pedal. You see where I'm going there?
Right, less wheel spin.
Less wheel spin, exactly. So, and that's what snow tires are all about. So I'd be interested I'd love for you, I want you to, I ask you to, call and talk to them, and you call me back next week. And that's one of the things that we need on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We need a tire manufacturer, because I'd like to have a tire engineer to join me on Saturday and answer questions like this from a technical standpoint, because all of this, he said, she said, next door neighbor, grandfather, or I was a mechanic for 30 years and we used to do this, is not the way it's done in today's society. You don't take anything off of an automobile collectively that's like emissions controls. You don't change anything unless you order it specifically made, and there are reasons for all that. Anyway, hey, thanks for your call. Didn't mean to run on there, but
not a problem.
But
very interesting.
It is very, very. It's more to that than meets the eye there. Hey, I'd love to hear from you after you get to the other side of your call with Tire Rack, Chris.
Will do, and have a nice holiday in the meantime.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And right back at you and your family. Folks, the Car Care Council, I have to share this with you because they're our partners. The program is brought to you by the Car Care Council. And if you're traveling this holiday season, remember to follow their famous 3 Ps. What is that? Prepare, prevent, and plan. You can save money and you can avoid breakdowns, and that's really important. And you can learn more at carcare.org. And just for your information, at carcare.org is where I recommend that you take a look at their Car Care Guide at carcare.org. It's free. It's for your glove compartment. And
you know, you can actually, if you want to get someone who's really busy like we all are, some kind of a gift or practical idea, a gift giver, how about an oil change and inspection, or a car wash and a detail, or a roadside emergency kit? And that's for the traditionalists who can't imagine a gift that isn't wrapped under a tree. The Car Care Council suggests putting together a roadside kit which includes jumper cables, emergency flashers, a flashlight with batteries, blankets, and some extra clothes, water, and non-perishable snacks. A free copy of the Council's Car Care Guide is also highly recommended and available for no charge at carcare.org. Let's go to Andy in Florida. Andy, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, Bobby.
Hey, sir.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to tell you that we love your show. I've been listening to your show before I met my wife in 1994, and I don't know how far back, but I think that the Daytona station was at WNDB.
Yes, sir.
They started with you very early in your radio career.
Well, yeah, like the first, we had 4 stations in 2 states, and WNDB 1150 AM News Talk Radio was one of them. Mark Bernier, and that wasn't even his job, or at least it wasn't for about 2 months, program director, and he heard my show, and he said, oh, I like this guy, let's put him on. And we've
had you ever since.
We have been there ever since. It's my second home, really.
I'll tell you what I like about your show, and then I'll get to my question, is you've made me a better customer when I go to the repair shop for either maintenance or repairs. I don't speak in tongues. When they tell me what they think's going on, I understand it better. And when they try it and they didn't get it quite right, I give them a second chance and I explain to them. And I've never had a bad experience no matter where I've gone for maintenance and repair.
Well, 2 things that tells me. Number one, of course, it makes me feel really that I've satisfied a goal, and the goal here is not to repair cars, but to establish a better communication between you and your local service provider, because there are always 2 sides to every coin, and I have the advantage because I work and have worked for years on the service side, and then on this side, I'm on the consumer side, and I'm a consumer as well. But Andy, I really appreciate you. Where do you live, sir?
Well, actually, Ormond Beach, but Daytona, we touch. We're just north.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And the next time that I happen to be in your neck of the woods, I want to meet you face to face. And I really
you come for some of those races, so I'll come look for you.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate you so much.
I won the air conditioning golf balls and can coolers from you one time many years ago.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Hey,
and
thank
it's nice to know you're there, because even if sometimes I'll hear you answer a question, I'll go, oh, I already knew that, and that's nice to know that I still know that. Or a lot of times I'll learn stuff I don't know.
Yeah. Well.
But here's the great story. We have a 05 Toyota Highlander that we bought new, and over the years we'd get these recall letters.
Oh, yeah.
But in order to get it done, you always have to make an appointment.
Right.
And between being a soccer dad and having a job and being a husband and having to mow the yard, it was really rough to make those appointments. So finally, a month or so ago, I made an appointment, and they fixed 3 things on a 14-year-old car that we bought from them. The idler pulley on the serpentine belt.
Right.
They had to check that to make sure it was one of the suspect ones that could potentially come apart.
Yes, sir.
But they did. They fixed it. And then some sort of a seal or something in the power brake master cylinder.
Right.
And then some other thing, like the hooks that keep the carpet from bunching up by the accelerator.
Yeah.
But maybe they originally had brittle plastic, and if you stomped on it in your cowboy boots, you could break it or something.
Gotcha.
So 14 years later, and we've never bought another thing from them, and they fixed that stuff for free.
Wow. What's the name of the
dealership?
dealership?
The only downside
What's that?
is while I was there, I went over to the new car side and test drove some of their stuff.
Okay, hold on.
And even though
Andy,
Highlanders
let me ask you to hold there just a minute, because I'm out of time, and I really appreciate hearing from you. But the winner of our $25 O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card, our partners at O'Reilly Auto Parts that you and I discuss every week right here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic, is Vince from Arkansas. So a big congratulations to Vince. You just won yourself, by tuning in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, a $25 gift card courtesy of our partner sponsors, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Well, I guess the saying, O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day, including a $25 holiday gift card. Andy, thank you so much for your kind words. And folks, thank you for tuning in. Same time next week. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, we only partner with companies we believe in, like K-Seal, which is an excellent option for repairing a coolant leak, especially for older vehicles that may not be worth the cost to repair. But don't take our word for it. K-Seal was recently used to repair the block on a 1913 Type 22 Bugatti, the oldest running Bugatti in the U.S. with a value of approximately $2 million. K-Seal is available nationwide at parts stores like O'Reilly Auto Parts. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
O'Reilly. Is your vehicle ready for the holiday road trip? O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you save on your oil change. Right now, get a $15 gift card after mail-in rebate when you buy 5 quarts of Castrol Edge Full Synthetic and a Wix filter for $33.99. Plus, earn double O Rewards points. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, loaded, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Folks, if you're a regular listener to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, like I hope that you are, you've heard me talk about Clarius and also Optima batteries, which is one of the brands that Clarius builds. In fact, Clarius, 1 in 3 batteries in the world is a Clarius battery. Also, in addition to making many batteries and performing exceptional technical improvements with the battery life and the batteries that we use today, Clarius also has created the Battery Shop on YouTube. And it's developed by Clarius. The Battery Shop features DIY videos on battery installs, technical tips for
battery technology, of course, and it's just a great resource for car battery information. So take a quick look when you have an opportunity before you buy your next battery. And by the way, I do favor and I do endorse the AGM battery, which is absorbent glass mat batteries. And go to the Battery Shop channel on YouTube. That's the Battery Shop on YouTube for all the information that you can use to be a better car owner and to make sure that this